Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Husker Hangover. I'm your Matt Vrzal here. Changed up a little bit, tried to go live here on the internet. Looking for interactions with everybody that can be possible. Quite a while during the game. Everything was going well for Nebraska until it wasn't. And we've seen this story. We've played this song. We've danced this dance. We know how this goes. Overall, my initial view of the team, I had no problem with the way anything was going. I thought the first half, if you look at the breakdown, Nebraska does a nice job starting the game. They come out, everything looks like, okay, maybe all these things that we've done in the past year are going to work out. Maybe they're not. Maybe that's what happened in the end. I thought the play calling initial by Whipple was good. I thought it had some rhythm. I thought the guys kind of looked loose and fit into it in quarter one. You look really good. I mean, I've got teammates texting me quarter one, hey, this thing looks great. I'm like, yeah, 3 quarters to go. Still got a lot to figure out. Second quarter, different story. Northwestern battles back, ends up taking a lead into halftime, 17-14. And unfortunately, Nebraska through the Scott Frost era is 3-21 when going in and trailing at half. So little trepidation there as they go into half. Come back out second half, and you win the third quarter. And then it happens. It's the reason for the shirt today. Sometimes you just put how about no when you have a mind-blowing decision you want to make. Maybe don't make that decision. Maybe just let the team play. The onside kick. Now, he owned it after the game. He owned it. He went in and said, hey, this is on me. I did it. I called it. This is the way it was. There is no one to blame. So I respect that. I respect that. He wanted to go for the jugular. He wanted to go and try to put that game away in the third quarter. He wanted to end it. The execution of it, the kick was decent. Probably if you look at the film, you would like to see the kick a little bit wider on the field and moved it out just a skosh because they have 3 guys up front right in the middle of you because you play a little bit of a compact kickoff team. Your kickoff team is all tight, inside almost barely outside the hashes. The kick was a good kick at just the angle of it. If you can angle that out a little bit further, maybe you have a chance because your next guy's about 20 yards back, probably have a faster guy on the edge. You can get that. But in that situation, at that point where you're at as a program, that's probably not where you want to be. Your defense may be pretty amped up because you just scored, got the lead, feel good about it. Give them a chance to get a stop. But that move there, that's one that you can't make in that situation, in my opinion. And I think that's the opinion of the general consensus of society, that wasn't the time to do that. That wasn't where you needed to be. I got the chance to sit and watch the game with some folks here down at Pison's Pizza, where we are broadcasting from. Overall consensus of that was majority no. The remainder was F no. So that was a big fuck no on that one. Don't do that. Things I would have liked to seen more in the game. The offensive line push still wasn't there. It's got to be a more dominating type of setup. That explosion out of the stance they're still working on. They've got to get holes created. I think the running backs did a nice job. Nebraska at times looked like it could control the line of scrimmage, could run the ball, could do things they wanted to do. Then unfortunately, Northwestern made some adjustments. They weren't able to. Nebraska ended the game with total yards rushed. So they had a net total of 110. And you take out the longer run that they had for the touchdown. It's not somewhere where you want to be. It's not what you want to do. Northwestern, though, found what they like. Now, one thing Northwestern's offensive line knew that they could do was they knew that they could grind that thing out. They wanted to see how deep Nebraska was. They want to see how in shape Nebraska was. And they were able to find that they just continually stuck with the plan. Average 4.6 yards a carry. That's a tough one to overcome. If you know you can get 4.5 to 5 yards on a running play, you have advantage in everything you want to do. You have advantage in everything you want to do and be as an offense. Because now your secondary has to roll up and they have to help. Your linebackers are free to run, or for Nebraska, your linebackers have to be more worried about an offensive lineman in their face. So now they're getting locked on blocks, and they were, as Damon, my buddy, says, they were sticky. They couldn't get off those blocks, and then those 5-yard runs start to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. They were able to convert at key times of the game. That was unfortunate. And then they put Nebraska in a spot where the play calls, you weren't really dictating what you want to call when Nebraska got the ball back. They unfortunately were having to take chances that they didn't really probably want to do. You got to give credit to Pat Fitzgerald and his crew. They knew if they hung around, that they could get the game to the point where they could start to control it through their physicality. The last year's game when Nebraska won, I believe it was 56-7. They didn't have any running backs. They were running back short in that game. Nebraska took advantage of it. They had 2 this year. And their offensive line really became dominant by the end of the game. That's Northwestern. Their line became dominant by the end of it. And they were able to dictate how that went and how they wanted things to get done. And so it's unfortunate that it ended up that way. But again, those games that are there, especially a Big Ten, a conference game, a division game, those are there to take. And you can't let those slip through your fingers. Like we haven't had the success we've had in the past. I had a terrible stat that I saw this morning, but since 2015, Nebraska has lost 49 games. From 1973 to 1997, Coach Osborne lost 49 games. So that's how bad this has been. We've all been going through this. This is, I believe, the start of year 7 of Husker Hangover in some way, shape, or form, be it on the normal way or on this way that we're starting today. We will have a ton of participation. We're going to make some mistakes. Some things are going to get screwed up. There'll be days where we're not good at this. There'll be days where we're great at this. But this was a way I felt that we needed to take the show. We could get some more interaction. If you want to send any questions, just hop on the Husker Hangover, Husker Hangover page on Facebook. You can just direct message me questions right there. We'll get to your questions. Anything you guys want to talk about, we'll work on getting phone lines of some way, shape, or form. I will have guests. Unfortunately, today nobody was really chatty and didn't want to come on. A couple guys told me to F off this morning, so we will see. We will see what they have to say in the future. Sun will come up. It did come up today. Nebraska, I believe, landed at 3:45 in the morning. Then had a bus ride home, and they'll get ready for North Dakota, which will happen as this fly joins us for the show. Overall impression of Casey Thompson. First half, I thought was probably one of the better sets of leadership that we've ever had. I want to retract that. He looked like he had a grasp of the offense. He looked like he had a grasp of what he was doing, what he was trying to get accomplished, which is great. He looked in control of all. He looked like the system was good. It was kind of jiving with what he did. He was 17 of 24 for 228 yards and a touchdown. It's a good half. It's a good half of football. When we have questions, what's this going to be? What's that going to be? How are we going to do this? He looked like he was going to be possibly what we've been looking for a while in a lot of Nebraska fans' eyes. Then the second half comes around. 8 of 18. Northwestern makes adjustments. 8 of 18, 127. I'm only giving him one interception. The one interception it was a post route, and the defensive back was waiting for it, cut underneath it, or cut over behind it. The throw was a little bit off, not terribly off. But that one was the pick. The second one in the back end of the game where they had the tip and then it was picked off after that. I don't blame him on that. That's a ball that is the ball a little bit behind him. Yeah. Should have still made the catch. Yes. And they will say that. They know they made the catch. They know that's a catch. It's got to get made all the time. It can't get made some of the time. for Nebraska being Nebraska, you have to have that catch made. There cannot be tips like that, cannot be things that happen in that manner. That's just the way that catch has to be made. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's got to be a play that gets made in that game when you're trying to drive down the field and win the game. You're trying to get everything done that you can for dear old Nebraska. Running the ball, the stats. You had Anthony Grant had 19 touches for 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. You can live with that. That's a good day. Trey Palmer had 2 attempts for 12. After that, you had your one package with Logan Smothers where he came in and ran the option. The backs I had no issue with. It was they needed to be able to run free. They needed to be able to work their way down the field in a more consistent manner. And I think for the offensive line, they've got to realize and take that, right? They've got to be able to own that and take pride in what's getting done there and make sure that as they go through this, they realize that as Nebraska goes, as they go, they have to be the ones that make sure that this thing is what it needs to be. Like that's the key to me. Will Donovan Raiola get in the lab and makes a lot of changes? I'm sure he will. I'm sure without a doubt he will. But that, man, there's got to be an attitude in that. You got to have an ass kicker. You got to have somebody you can rely on every single time to make sure that this fly is going to drive me crazy. To make sure that I'm looking at producer Cam over here. Cam's the one that set all this up, so shout out to Cam. Cam is going to also help me out a lot with this. So we kind of went rogue here. We decided to set some stuff up on our own, and you'll hear Cam's voice. Cam, say hello to the folks.
Hello, folks.
All right, so there's Cam. Cam's got some questions coming in. We'll get to those questions here in a little bit, but back to the offensive line. It was as I watched it, there were phases of it that I had no issue with. I thought the schemes they were running were good. I thought the execution of the scheme 80% of the time, 75% for sure of the time was good. But it's that little off and ons when it goes bad at the wrong time, right? It goes bad. Now, to me, that isn't a physical exercise. There's nothing physical in that. That to me is a mental exercise. Mentally, they've got to be ready and they've got to be prepared to have that responsibility placed on them to execute regardless. I still need somebody in that huddle of those 5 guys that's in somebody's face, that's yelling, cussing, screaming, whatever, doing something to say, hey, that's the guy that's trying to take the reins. That's the guy that's trying to lead the ship. Like that. That's what I want to see out of that, because you have talent. Now, the use of the talent, Applewhite must have been in a lot of the same setup as Coach held, because we didn't see much yet. 3 carries, 5 yards. He was a guy that a couple games last year, I'm like, man, that might be your guy. Like that might be the dude that totes the rock. We saw very little of Ramir Johnson. I know he's a wide back now is what they're calling him. It's part wide out, part running back. It's fine. I don't know if I saw him offensively outside of special teams. The special teams was the only time I saw him on the field. So I'm a Ramir Johnson. I like Ramir. I think they've got to find a way to use him. Like I think they've got to find some manner to get him the football. I think he can do good things. But that line's got to take it over. Tight ends, thought I had a nice day. I mean, outside of Vokalek getting hurt, I like their inline blocking for the most part. Of course, there's breakdowns and everything. Caught the ball pretty well. I think Vokalek had 5 for 63, which isn't bad. You're averaging 12 yards a catch at tight end. You take that. The standout position for me on the field as far as the offense goes, I thought were the wide receivers. I know I just mentioned a tip pass that was dropped and intercepted, but overall, I thought the receivers made nice plays. I really did. I thought the routes were crisp. Majority of the receptions with balls that were not even always perfect were caught, and I thought they were good. So shout out to Coach Joseph and everything that he has done for the squad. But that's kind of my offensive breakdown as I look at that. Tons of area for improvement, but finding that alpha, finding that guy, maybe it is an alignment, maybe it's a quarterback, maybe it's a running back, maybe it's whomever. Somebody in there that is overly passionate about it, that is overly passionate about just wanting to win the game, to win at all costs. That's, I think, what's something that's missing from the whole organization. That's something that you've got to make sure that you've got that dude in the huddle that's going to give them that go, that get over the top, that we have to do this. This is where it's going. Whipple called the greatest play we've ever heard in our lives. We're going to execute it now. That's what I want to see them out of them. Like, I've got to get to that point with that offense. There's still 11 games left. I'm not blowing sunshine. That schedule that everybody told me was easy just got a lot harder. It just got a lot harder. Now, you got a couple the next 2 weeks you should win. Head into Oklahoma 2-1. Not to look ahead, but to look ahead. That'll be a big boy test because Brett Venables and the things that he has defensively are going to be a problem. So get out this next week, take care of your business against North Dakota, which I have to say out loud. Make sure you're ready for Helton and the more probably spread offense that he's going to run with some talented guys at Georgia Southern. And then you don't have luxury to look ahead anymore. You have to look at what is right in front of you. Cam, let's go to our first question of the show.
For sure. I got a couple on the onside kick. I know you touched on it a little bit.
Yep.
David Vincent says, for the onside kick, do you think he should have gone left side instead of the right side? Or maybe not at all?
if not at all is an option, I'm going to take not at all. That's man. Sometimes it's just good to let the people that you're paying money do their job. A great friend of mine in business said something to me, and he said, it's amazing what happened when I just let the people that I trained do what I trained them to do. He said, if I just get out of the way and let my people do their stuff. And what I'm meaning by that is you just have to let the game alone. You have the momentum. Like that. The stadium was excited. Everybody here was excited. You're up 11. You're up 11 in the third quarter. And that decision is made. Now I understand where the decision comes from. I wouldn't call it a mindset of desperation, but it's a mindset of let's do this now so we can ease some of the tension, some of the strain that we think we may have. Like, let's do this at this moment so we can just win right now. Third quarter, we're going to win. The problem with that is there's a fourth quarter, and there's the remainder of whatever's left in the third quarter. He's a gambling man, and he thought the risk was worth the reward. In the end, we learned that it was not. Now, the funny part to me is you watch ESPN, everybody talking about it, and all the people, all the coaches, every coach, well, the majority of the coaches I heard, all were fine with it. Yeah, take a shot, win the game, end it right there. Then everybody that's a player or a fan or an analyst is just like, man, why are you doing that there? Like, that's not the time for that. You've just scored. You've given yourself a boost of energy. You kick the ball away, and you tell your defense, I trust you. You go win us this game. You get us a stop. We're going to score more points. We just got a turnover. And I mean, look at us go. Like, we're doing this. You can do this again. We took a long positive play from Northwestern. We came up at a safety, put a great hat on a helmet or a helmet on the ball, and we got a turnover. And then we converted that turnover into points. The momentum and everything that they have was phenomenal. And then when it happened, it literally almost sucked the life out of everything. You could. I mean, I could feel it here, just way over here in Omaha, not in Dublin. Here, air out of a balloon. Everybody's like, "Oh boy, here we go. What's going to happen now?" Sometimes you just have to let things alone. Sometimes you just have to let it go the way you're going to go. But he is a gambling man. He took a shot. The shot didn't work. And when you get coaches like that, or people like that, they know that. They know the back end of this might not work. And I'm fine with that. In a way, you're showing the ultimate trust in your defense of, hey, we're going to do this. If it doesn't work, I trust you guys to get a stop. You have to get a stop. Unfortunately, after the onside kick, if we're keeping a score on the scoreboard, which is where they keep it, was 14-0 Northwestern. So, I mean, that's the downside of it. That's the back end of it. Now you get yourself into a mindset or mentality that I don't think Nebraska needs to be in, which is chasing. I think they need to develop a get on top, stay on top type of thing. Because if they could have been on top, kick that thing away. Say Northwestern does go down. Say they kick off and Northwestern goes down and scores. Great. I think you have a much better mentality coming back. Like, hey, we just got to get back in that rhythm. We'll hit them with that little, we're doing good things. We have plays that are working. I thought some of the concepts Nebraska had were great. Thompson didn't have to throw the ball into super tight windows. He did sometimes, but a lot of times you had guys running fairly wide open, which is all to scheme. You've done a great job in scheme. When they were running the ball efficiently, then you saw them be able to really focus on what they wanted to do, which was get the ball to their playmakers in rhythm. And they did that. But that was I know he stood by it and he said, I'd do it again. I think he said that. But that one right there, maybe just save that in the back pocket. That's probably one for a bigger game. No offense, Northwestern, you won. But that's one where you feel you're out-talented. And I'll say that Nebraska is going to be out-talented in games. If we're going to play scenarios, say you get to that point in Oklahoma. Okay. You just scored to go up 10 against Oklahoma. Probably going to hit that play there. Probably going to give that a shot. But I'm going to talk to my special teams coordinator, make sure I have no doubt that one of their up front guys is going to bail. That was the other thing about it. I was like, listen, man, you ain't playing a dumb school. You're playing Northwestern. Like, we're all probably going to work for somebody from Northwestern someday. If you're playing, some directional school, then do that then. But these people are smart. And the guy that recovered it for Northwestern, he didn't even move. I think he took maybe a half step back. Came rallying to the ball. I don't mind the thought. I mind the game. Like, in that game, Uncle Mo is on your side. You've got everything you could ever imagine going on there for momentum. You've got everything that you need. So that's why you get paid the big bucks, number one. But that's also why you can crank up the heat on the hot seat a little bit, number two, when you're wanting to make those calls. Every now and then we will take a break. We'll be back shortly. Just I'm giving everybody a heads up. We're not going to a break right now. But I know if you're listening out there, I guess I'd like to see more of your feedback. I've got crazy texts coming in. Well, I guess that seals that. The thing about this game that probably maybe most realize, or maybe most don't, is that now the ball is in the athletic director's court. I had over under was probably 25 texts of just terminate, fire, get rid of. These are not our decisions. We understand we're passionate people. We want this thing to work. Everybody wants it to work. Nobody's gone out there and said, oh, this is going to fail. But now it's just the momentum is going, and everybody everywhere has a great time with it. Everybody has a ton of fun piling on Nebraska. We've earned that right. We were on top for a while 30 years ago, 25 years ago. But now you're getting to a point where you've got to, like, now, I'll be 100% honest, they got to go on a heater. They got to go on a heater the rest of the way. Like, the luxury you may have had playing later in the season is gone. There is no luxury. You have tomorrow, and that's it. Like if you can't get this squad into a game-by-game mode, okay, our sole focus is North Dakota, which is an honest statement. We have to say that. And hopefully you come out and things click and you look like a wagon early. Lots and lots of points early. Okay? That way you can get younger guys in the game and see if you may find a player. See if you may find some depth for your defensive line, which we'll talk about in the second half of the show. See if you can find people that can contribute in some way, shape, or form. See if you can find, like, you have to take these next two games and do this because you're going to need them. If Vokalek goes down or is out, I haven't heard any injury reports, but you have to have another tight end ready. Like, you have to have the same level of effort, execution. He's not going to be as talented as Vokalek. That's fine. But production can't drop off when that person goes in the game. They have to be ready for that. They have to make sure that that's where they're at as a squad. And that's real. That's what they're going to do. But these next two games, you have to accomplish that. I don't know how many of you watched it. I don't know why I'm winning isn't exactly a world beater. But a game everybody told me was going to be easy was Illinois. Okay. I was in the other camp. Brett Bielema, year 2 of guys buying into his system. And I know it's Wyoming, but Wyoming will inevitably show up and cause somebody some problems. They handled a lot of business in that game. I did not like that. I did not like that Illinois seemed to just be clicking. And everything that they wanted to do worked. Almost everything. But that was a oof. Did not like to see that. All right, we are going to take our first break of the show. We're just going to take a quick little 2-minute break. We'll pause for the cause. If you, we'll be right back with more Husker Hangover here on the internet. I'm Matt Vrzal. That's Cam the Man. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back in, everybody. Matt Vrzal joining you here on Sunday morning, as I have for the past 6 years. On to number 7, just a little bit different platform. And many of you know, not a technology guy, not my strong suit, not what I do. But got a lot of questions coming in. We'll save all the defensive ones because we'll cover that in the second half of the show, because I think there's a lot of great points being brought up there. Sean said, maybe we should take the headset away from Frost and make it more like Bobby Bowden, where he's just, hey, I had the opportunity to go down to a wedding. Barry Switzer's daughter married a buddy of mine's brother. And it was the most enlightening wedding I've ever been to. And he straight up just told me. He straight up just said, he goes, I don't coach nothing. Because I'm there for hand claps and butt slaps. That's what I'm there for. He said, I pay these people to do this. He said, all I got to do is talk to the media, the boosters, make sure we got enough money to do what we want to do. So if I got enough money to do what we want to do, then these coaches got to go coach. They just got to make sure they're getting their stuff done. And so I thought that was a great, but that was funny, Shawnee. That was a good one to start the day. Another Sean Sullivan asks, what happened to Manning, the number 1 JUCO receiver? Did he even play? He did not play, from what I've heard from people. He and Coach Joseph, you don't want to mess with Coach Joseph. I'm just throwing that out there. If you're not living right, you're not going to play. And I don't know if it's an academic thing. I don't know if it's an effort thing. But he just wasn't there. He did not have him. He did not have him lining up. He did not have him playing. So, yeah, got to do things right. You can't do them any other way. If someone's trying to order a pizza at 8:30, we ain't answering that call. Troy says, so we got a new QB, a new O coordinator, and new receivers, which all look like upgrades, but the head decision making is the same and the same results. That sentiment is pretty spot on with where everybody is at. Everyone is kind of in that mindset. They're like, hey, okay. When you've been the caller, not defending anyone, okay, we're just going to throw that out there. When you've been the play caller, the head coach, and you feel that what you're going to do, as we've talked many a time, there's tons of hubris in this. There's tons of ego. There's tons of all of that stuff involved in the game. No one wants to be told. Oh, hey, you're not very good. You can't do this. You got to give away your play calling responsibilities. You can't do those things anymore. Well, that's not what anybody wants to hear. That's not what anybody wants to do. And to do that, it takes a big man. It takes a big human being to say, okay, here's where I get over it real quick, like real fast. Like say in some bizarro world, I'm the head coach and I'm the play caller, which many of you that have ever coached with me know I have no desire to ever call plays. Say we're playing imaginary land and this is it. I'm that guy. Okay. My boss comes to me and says, can't do it anymore. You got to be the CEO. You got to run this company. We're still going to pay $5 million a year. We're paying you. I know. We're going to give you $4 million. But you got to turn this stuff over. You got to be clapping hands and getting everybody hyped up to be here. For $4 million, I'm doing it. With that ego, we'll just fold that baby up. We'll put it right in the back pocket. Say, okay, that check's still going to clear. I'm still going to get my $4 million. But I've now got to evolve this into, instead of, and this is probably how I would justify it to myself, instead of touching the one position I'm working with, I'm going to make sure every player on that team knows, I know something intimate about them. I know a point of contention for them. Maybe they're struggling in a class. Maybe they're doing this. Maybe they don't understand this part of the phase. But that would be my evolution to it, where I would, instead of being consumed with calling plays, I've been consumed with making sure my players knew that I was there any and every time they wanted me to be there. Any and every time that they needed a thing, they knew I was a guy they could call. And like I always say about the Allen guy at Indiana. If one of Allen's players says, hey, I got a body, Allen's telling them I got a shovel, so we'll get it handled. But I would morph myself into that, because calling the plays in the X's and O's back in the day, and I know this wins games, was the epitome, right? It was the pinnacle. Osborne did it for years. Ryan Day's one of the few guys that probably still pulls it off. But now if you look at what the head coach is, every player that's played for Nick Saban says, Coach Saban, I know Coach Saban loves me. Dabo Sweeney, I know Coach Sweeney has my back in any situation. Okay? Being that mentor, father figure, overseer is probably more important to kids now. Because listen, there's guys with football brains everywhere. There's guys that design plays that are exotic and all this and take advantage of X, Y, and Z. And can we get to executing? You bet. But those ones that the kid truly trusts with everything, those are probably the morph of it. I know Saban has input on things, which a head coach should, but he isn't calling things. I know he still coaches a position, but he also has another coach that coaches with him on the secondary, so he can then walk around and make sure everybody's good. Dabo's CEO. Dabo just rolls around and does whatever Dabo wants. But that trust level in it, and that's tough in a year. You bring in a new offensive coordinator. I'm guessing they've had a rapport in the past. You're turning this over. Hey, my life is in your hands now. I need you to at least do what I was doing or better, because I've got to go focus on other things. We've got to go focus on what we need to really, truly build up a culture at Nebraska that can be moved on and can be executed down the road. You know, where it is something. This was the bottom rung. Okay, you went to Dublin, you were doing good things, you had it under control, and then you lost control, and then you lost the game. Okay, if this is the bottom of the bottom, which I think we've talked about for 3 or 4 years here, if this is the bottom of the bottom, because I'm running out of bottoms, everybody, I don't know where else we're gonna go. If that's the bottom of the bottom, and you now turn this around, maybe you break down. It's real. You could. You've got to turn this corner and get these guys going all back in the right direction. You've got to get guys. You've got to get guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Lou just messaged, why does this keep happening? I don't know. Maybe in the 90s we did make a deal with the devil. Maybe we did. And we're coming back. Brian says 2, 3, and 7 were better yesterday than Manning since he has arrived in Lincoln. He wasn't missed. I had no issue with anything that the receivers did. None. I thought it was a highlight of the game for me. In the past, I'd be watching, balls thrown, kind of take a deep inhale. Like, number one, is somebody going to be there where they're throwing this thing? Number two, is it going to be so tight of coverage that there's no way to catch this ball? And number three, if all those things aren't true and he's there, is he going to catch it? And they did. They made catches. They made plays. And I don't know. The ball got thrown. I didn't fret like I used to. I would love to watch it when they handed it off, and I didn't fret, but we're still fretting. Patrick says, why can't they just play basic football? They obviously can't get that right, but they can magically get the cutesy crap right. This is a great, and we meaning us at Scott Catholic, curb stomped again by Bennington. Shout out to the Badgers. They did a great job. We did not. You can have too much. It can be too much. I'm a big proponent in football of just KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Make it understandable. Make it relatable. Make it easy. And go from there. Okay? Make sure those things that you are great at, you're great at against everything. And eliminate some of the extra thought and eliminate some of those things that get in the way of success. Get it, basically just boil it down to, and you'll laugh at me, but this is true. There are games that are won by very successful teams, and there may only be 6 to 8 play calls in that game. There may only be 6 or 8 calls that get made that really are different than anything else. Now, in today's college football, let's just take the basic Tom Osborne option football, for example. One play has 3 options. Give it to the fullback, quarterback keeps it, pitch to the I-back. So those plays have more to it than that. Now, in today's football with the RPO, you can ball fake to a running back, and then you're reading safeties and things, and you can hit a pass off that if you want to. But if you can keep that as simple as possible, that's helpful. I'm with Patrick on that one. I'm with you. Master basics. You may have somebody better than you, but you know what? If you get into a situation where you're just able to do what you want to do with those 6, 8, 10 plays, it's more than enough. It's more than enough. Now, every play, as I said, has multiple options. If you start to have some success running option 1 on that same play, now they're going to overcorrect. Now you give it to option 2. So that play extrapolates out and it's got more to it. But that's what I would boil back to. It's just the basics. I'm going to butcher this kid's name. Costenda is looking the part. That's from Caleb. I agree. I thought, like I said, no issue. I thought the running backs ran hard. I thought Casey Thompson, first half Casey Thompson, maybe first even 3 quarters Casey Thompson, those guys, okay, I'm down with this. Then the lights got brighter and the pressure got put on. And then it all kind of unraveled. You got to want that spot. You got to want to be there at that time. You got to want to make those things happen. So there's just a ton that is fixable, a ton that can be done better. And we know that. We've said this forever. We've said these things in an ongoing manner. Cam, if you want, I can't scroll past any of these other questions. So if there's more questions in there for the offense, go ahead and rip a couple over. I guess for me, in the comments here, let's just start firing questions. What was your thought of Whipple? What was your thought of the game he called? Man, I feel there are times they're way in rhythm. Way in rhythm. And if we can figure out we don't have to play the second and fourth quarter, we should be okay. I think that's mandatory that you have to play those. Lost the fourth quarter, or lost the second quarter 14-7. Lost the fourth quarter 7-0. Lost the game 31-28. But Whipple at time I thought was way in rhythm. I thought was way good. It looked smooth. Now, the shoot in the foot things, those need to evaporate. Those need to go away. But again, back to what the basis of this is. They've got to decide. And you're going to get to a point. I talked to a great friend of mine, and we were talking about season win totals and those kind of things. And I said, just get to 6. Just get to 6 and give yourself a chance to go to a bowl game. However you have to get to 6, I don't care. I don't expect 9. I don't expect 10. And it's not a defeatist mentality. I was just looking for a progression mentality. And he said to me, you know what could happen? I'm like, what's that? He said, the kids that are playing could just say, you know what? Enough of this. We're just going to go out and get, not ours, we're going to go get this game just on talent. Because there's teams Nebraska is more talented than. There are teams that should just go out on the schedule, be able to, Northwestern being one of them. I think Nebraska is more talented than Northwestern. but they got out smart guide in that game. Northwestern steadfast in their plan, stuck to their plan. Everybody's hanging around. Teddy KG beat him. They hung around and hung around and hung around. And at the end, they were able to take advantage. It's then too, I don't need national media. Again, I ask you this every year, just leave us alone. Just leave us alone. I don't need Kirk Herbstreit and his new plugs saying we're going to win the West. I don't need other people saying we're going to be 10-2 playing in the championship game. Just give us a 4-year hiatus. Just leave us alone. Just say, mark us the same as we finished the year before. Because you create, I'm going to make up a word here, rabidity. You take a rabid fan base and then you chuck that out there, Herbie. I'm not blaming you. You chuck that out there, and we are all just fully husked. We are ready to roll. We are going back to the natty. Here it is. But if we don't need your help, we don't need your help. All right. So Caleb says Whipple had a great list of canned plays in the first quarter. Too bad he can't call plays during the game. Ooh, Caleb insinuating that Frost still calling plays. All right. Everybody's pretty antsy. We'll get to one text here from John. John says, Trev has to keep Frost until the buyout drops. Otherwise, why bring him back to begin with? But when it does, rip the Band-Aid off and start moving forward. This isn't going to work. John, always a ray of hope and sunshine on a Sunday morning. There are a lot of folks in that camp that it's a dead man walking. They're just hanging on to this until the buyout kicks in. And maybe they're true. Maybe it's right. Maybe it is. If you got any ounce of fight in you, they got to, I've done some dumb shit in my life. And I put myself in some bad spots. But I know at the end of the day, there's not anybody I'm going to call but me to get myself out of it. And I'll go down swinging. Like I will go down kicking, clawing, fighting, swinging. If that team could develop that mindset, that would be huge. Where any and everything they're doing, they are just fighting, kicking, screaming, trying to get anything accomplished. All right, we're going to take our second break of the show. We got to get into it. We'll come back. We'll talk defense when we return here on the new Husker Hangover on the internet. Welcome back, everybody. Jeez, yelling to the microphone. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about your earlobes there. Matt Vrzal here, joining you on a Sunday morning with the new Husker Hangover, live on our Facebook page. We'll be up on YouTube as well. Cam, will there be a podcast available when we get done?
Yes, I can get on places. I'll share it out on the Facebook and on the Twitter as well, so you can listen to it again.
So we'll have everything out there so everybody can follow along. If you didn't get a chance to listen, spread the word if you can. Like, share, follow the page. We will be on here for the whole football season. I've got some confirmed guests for next week. They were a little cranky this morning, so they have passed on some of those. To the comments we go, though, as we're going to move on to talk about the defense. We're going to go through some comments. I'll give you my breakdown of what I think position-wise, and then, yeah, we'll just keep the comments coming. Lou says, why did the defense take such a big step backwards? Couldn't stop the run, didn't get any pressure on the QB. Also, a lot of missed tackles. Are you confident they'll figure things out and improve over time? All right, reason for the step backwards. I believe you had 3 guys got drafted to the NFL. Last year, Nebraska's defense was pretty old. They had a lot of guys that have been around for a while. You had a lot of depth in your defensive line. Depth in the defensive line was my biggest concern over the year. Okay, as I looked at the offseason, you look at the roster, you have a lot of bodies, but you have a lot of unproven commodities. And you have an unproven commodity, there's one of 2 ways you can do this. Your practices are so on lockdown and run physically that they just get better. They have to get better. They go away. It's you're better or there's attrition and you're done. Okay. Or you don't practice in that manner and you have to get them in a game. You have to get them live reps and you have to get them seasoned that way. The tough part about starting with a conference game right out of the gate, and Nebraska has a history of this. We went down and played Oklahoma State when I was in college, and it was tight. Baron Miles blocked a punt, I believe, to help secure that victory. There's a reason why you schedule those other teams first. There's a reason why you would rather have this schedule lay out as North Dakota, Georgia Southern, then go to Dublin and play Northwestern, then have an off week, then get back into your schedule so you can get your sea legs back. So the depth of the defensive line was always a concern for me coming into this season. Our linebackers, Heinrich, beat up. You guys got braces on everywhere. Gives it all he can. Tackle-wise, in the game, as I get to the stats here, press the right buttons. Your leading tackler could have been, I find it. I'll get it here in a second. All right, Luke Reimer's your leading tackler at 12 total, 5. That kid just flies around. I mean, he's a missile to the ball. He's a little bit undersized, so that's the onus has to be on the defensive line to keep him clean. They can keep him clean. He can fly around and make plays. Would have liked to seen at the times when the offensive line from Northwestern got to the linebacking core. It was more of a reactionary to the block instead of an attacking the block. When Kevin Steele, when you see linebackers that are really good, as soon as that lineman gets within about a 2-yard range of them, they are hands-on and jolting that human being. Like they are trying to, and I'll say this 100 times over. In college, if you get a hold of that lineman's face mask, they're not calling that. So it'd be active hands because when that big body got to Reimers or got to Heinrich, they weren't able to get off of the blocks. And then now you see the cutback. Now you see the big gaping hole. There's run. I thought Buford Jr. at safety. There wasn't a bigger play in that game than when number 4 for Northwestern broke through, had a nice long run going. We went helmet to football. Football popped out. We were all hustling. We recovered the football. You go down and score. That was that was huge. Something you don't always see. Well, twofold. You don't always see Northwestern turn the ball over. You don't see that tackle a lot. So that was the most exciting thing of the game for me. Okay. Super excited about that. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is all ours. Then it wasn't. Oquan, number 2 in tackles, he had 10 total. Heinrich had 9. And then it got when your safeties and everything, and another discussion that was had. You got to be able to manage enthusiasm. I thought initially when Nebraska was playing defense, they were hyped up. They were going and going and going. And then the reserves in the gas tank slowly started to dwindle, slowly started to drain. And then before you know it, you're in a spot where those 2 and 3 yard gains that you had in the first half were turning into 8, 10, 12 yard gains in the second half. They've got to find depth on the defensive line. You've got to find bodies. I think if playing the even front that they played, I would feel good at 6. Like I would have to have at least another guy back up per position. Because for whatever reason, and maybe the defensive line wasn't puking as much as the offensive line in practice. Maybe that was what that was about. You're in a rough spot when you tried to make a joke. And meathead football guy knew that was a joke. Society nowadays just ran with that thing. Oh my God, they're working them so hard, they're puking. It was a joke. But anyway, I'd find 2 more guys. I have to have 2 more. Because now I feel I can stay fresh. I can run guys through. So I got 2 more inside guys. Probably, truth be told, need to have 2 more outside guys too. Nelson goes so hard, you got to get him a break. And when you get the break in, again, just like the tight end that we were talking about, the break can't drop off. It doesn't have to be the same, but the same things have to get done. Securing your responsibility for the run first, and then becoming a pass rusher. But we were not able to get much pressure. I am also in the camp that blitzing should have been more a part of it. Put Northwestern on its heels. All blitzes are fundamentally sound. All blitzes have every gap covered. Just if you're going to put your cards out there and you're going to blitz, you can't get beat. Like you can, and when I mean beat, I mean you can't get, if I'm just going to run, I'll tell you what we're going to do, Cam. We're going to get a whiteboard, and I'll just whiteboard some of this stuff out. So I'll grab one of those for next week. But if I'm a defensive tackle, and we'll just say slant. I'm going to slant to my left. If that guard is able to wash me down and push me outside of the gap that I'm supposed to control, which we'll just call it the A gap, if he's able to push me out of that, now my blitz is going to have a little bit of an issue because I have somebody blitzing into that other B gap that I've just opened up for them. As we label the gaps from center out, it's A, B, C. I have to maintain gap integrity, is what a lot of people will call it. But when Northwestern got to the end of the game and they knew it was time to make the plays, they started to blitz. They had a really slick blitz that they ran that I believe got pressure and got a sack on Thompson. They had their defensive end and defensive tackle. They ran a game. We'll just call it tackle end. Call it whatever you want. The end slanted in. Teddy passed him down. The end looped around. And then they brought their outside backer off the corner. Maybe it was a corner that came off the corner. But you had one too many. You couldn't block them all. It was well designed. Their pass coverage rolled up a little bit tighter so that instant, kind of your bailouts that you can run, like a little hook in the flat where somebody just runs about 4 or 5 yards, turns around, looks for the ball. That was gone because the coverage rolled up. The coverage became tighter, or that little cushion they had where they could throw that was gone. And the defensive coordinator that called the blitz knows that he needs 3 seconds to get that guy from the line of scrimmage, get his blitzer from the line of scrimmage to the quarterback. So you tell your defensive backs, I need you for 3 seconds. I need this guy to not be open for 30 seconds. Our pressure will get there because they don't have enough. And they did it. And they executed it, and they made a big play. Would I love to see that? I'm not a believer in vanilla out of the gate anymore. If you're playing a different opponent, you're playing, some directional school that you're able to bring in for a paycheck, I'm in for vanilla. When you're playing a conference opponent, a division opponent, no need for vanilla. Let that thing rip. Send it at him and see how Linsky responds. Send it at him and see what they can come up with. All those things have to happen. Our good buddy Fremont Fred says, immature, that's the word to describe Frost as a head coach. It didn't work at this level. Not mature enough to set his enormous, I'm guessing your Fred, ego aside when making decisions and talking. He owned it, man. He owned the end of the game. The the shots at the offensive assistants, I thought, and I viewed them as shots. The offensive personnel or our offensive staff needs to realize there needs to be more creativity at this level. I don't know how else you would interpret that. That's a shot. I left that one for the locker room. I left that one for a coaches meeting on Monday. I would have done that. Brian says, had the defense been playing well and the onside kick would have made sense. They were not, and that's why it made zero sense. And proves that Frost is out of touch. Tatum just got to make him run the field. Got to make him run the field. Did I say Nebraska? No. I said Northwestern. Tony from before. I said Tony. I said Northwestern was too smart to have an onside kick. I'm not onside kicking against Northwestern. Those kids are a smart school. I onside kick against schools that don't. Ryan's in my camp says, why not start blitzing when you couldn't get pressure with 4? I understand try to be vanilla, but it's a conference game. Yeah, same sentiments. You got to take chances. And the blitz is going to have to get home to make those chances work. I was probably most disturbed, though, when you saw Northwestern's offensive line start to just mash and maul. They were able to do quite a bit of what they wanted later as that game progressed on. And you saw the utmost of poise and patience in the coaching staff. You saw, we're going to wait this thing out. We know what we're going to do. We know when it's going to happen. It was almost like they had the end of the game outlook already. They were going through everything as they had laid out all week. Like they knew where they wanted to be. They knew how that was going to go down. I truly believe that. Because as they started to grind and wear, I had said early in the week, just from people that I was talking to, I said, Nebraska can't be generous in this game. I said, you can't have an interception for touchdown. You can't have a fumble, where Northwestern can go and get points. Because Fitz, who didn't have his 2 running backs last year, had his 2 running backs this year. And if they get up, they're going to put it in the grindhouse. If they're within 7, they're going to put you in the grindhouse. In the grindhouse, for those that are listening that haven't listened before, that just means they're going to try to run the ball down your throat. They're just going to run it and run it and run it until you can't anymore. They just want to make you feel the pain. They want to control. It's when it's done correctly, it's a thing of beauty. When we're the ones doing it, it's awesome. What's being done to you, it's the most disheartening thing that there could be. Like I said, those little plays that were a couple yards here, a couple yards there early in the game, those numbers now grow. And now you've got other things like now you have to panic. Now you have to have guys that try to do too much. And it's human nature. If your defensive line is getting worked over, and then your linebackers, now they've taken your second level, defensive backs are jumpy anyway. So they're not like, man, I got to run down here in the box and I got to make plays. It's never a good outlook. I always like when I have what I think is a lack of depth, is to just get way creative and literally blitz every play. I've told the story on the airwaves many times. When I started coaching in Malcolm, Ryan Terwilliger, former linebacker, great defensive mind. Now he's a superintendent or something, smart guy. But we would check whatever formation they came out in, whatever formation there was, we checked to a blitz. So we blitzed every down of the game, unless he called it off, which every now and then he would. The shifted mentality in the players was what I loved about it the most. Because defense, when they're right and when they're good, are in a straight attack mode. They're attacking the whole time they're out there. And that mentality is awesome to be in. I could see it changing our kids at that little small school almost overnight. When they knew all my responsibility is that one gap. I have to get to that gap so my buddy can get to this other gap, and we're going to try to light these guys up. Did it work all the time? No, it didn't. The offense is trying to win the game too. But if you win the majority of the time and you get them on their heels, now you're doing some things. Offensive linemen don't like to see blitz coming. Backs know that guy's got a 5-6 yard head start run at me, and he's going to try to run me over. It takes a different breed of cat on the offensive side of the ball to be willing to just sprint at somebody full speed who's sprinting at you full speed and have a collision. But I would like to see Chinander just really be aggressive. The rest of the way out, aggression. If you get beat, you get beat. Right? You got to be able to take that chance. You got to be able to put it out there and say, this is where we're going to go with this. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to go. If you got any more defensive comments, just keep them coming. Secondary, overall, Northwestern did a nice job of addressing the defense that Nebraska was playing. Okay. They did a couple little slick things where they showed pass. They showed run with their tight end, kind of got him lost in the wash, and then he would filter out and just sit in the hole of the zone coverage. If we're going to extrapolate out further on some things that I like more about the aggressive style that Chin played a little bit last year, not blaming him for anything. He has new parts. Like there's turnover and things. You got to find out what's going to jibe together, what's going to work together, what's going to play together. Man coverage, I think, is switching up coverage is a little bit more frequently, or maybe not tipping. It seemed Northwestern had a pretty good grasp of what Nebraska was going to run. They knew, hey, this is going to work. We're going to roll this thing. There's no pressure. We're going to get to that hole, just sit in that hole. Okay. Another point I love, and good cornerbacks will tell you this, good cornerbacks are made great by great defensive lines. Right? Quarterback's got 4, 5, 6 seconds. That's a long time to chase somebody around who's running a route and is as fast as you. And you start in a back pedal, and then you have to start to run with them. Everybody's in unison that pressure needs to be brought. Pressure needs to happen. Because now those coverage times drop down to 3 seconds. And it's a little bit different. Hits can pile up on the quarterback. I don't know. Did we even have a sack in the game? Do you know? You're probably an Iowa guy, aren't you? Can's just loving this.
I am an Iowa guy, but I still like Nebraska.
I'm
I don't
good.
recall anything major in form of sack anyway. Yeah.
I mean, in a complete full game, 0 sacks. Yep, just went down the sheet there. So clean sheet. Can't happen. And I don't think it's an act of desperation if Chenander does decide in that second half to just start to light it up. Like I know after the onside kick, I've got to do something momentum producing, right, to get it back. We had it all, we lost it. How do we get this back? Probably crank it up there. I'm not so sure I wouldn't have blitzed that whole series. You really got nothing to lose. Yeah, the defensive line, man, that's going to be the telltale for the season. Because by the back end of it, if you're playing the odds, the law of attrition, you're going to lose some guys. But your back end is rough. Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, I think are the last 4. You're going to get mauled there. They're going to be downhill. There will be blood in the water. I mean, no. And there will be no mercy. But the good part is that's the end of it. Okay. You've got time now. You've got a couple games to find some people. You've got to find. I would not be surprised at all, even if the game isn't, a big number early, that you're going to see some different guys substituted in the game. That you're going to see some different guys rotated through there. Because you move to a front now where you cannot have linemen getting to the second level. You've got to make sure your linebackers are protected. Linebackers have to get a little bit more aggressive and be able to use those hands, jolt that guy. Jay Foreman, who I hope we get on next week as one of our guests, he was great at it, did a phenomenal job. But you get those hands on and you get that done there where you're the attacker. Now things change. Now things go quite a bit differently than they had or than they are. So onward and upward, Nebraska's got to move on. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the defensive line, secondary, anything. Chenander, I think we're all in team blitz or team pressure. I'm going to back this up just a second. Blitzing always doesn't have to involve linebackers. I'm fine with inline stunts as well, meaning I've got an end and a we'll call them a nose guard. I've got an end and a tackle. If they start to play games, it's very good as well. Okay. Now those games they would play would be just take the tackle. The tackle here would slant out. The end would loop underneath him. They've just switched jobs. That tackle now would be a contained player. That end now would be an inside player. You can do it with those two. You can run a similar stunt with the two inside guys where they're just trying to disrupt. They're trying to just get a blocking scheme. They're trying to pick on somebody that isn't to the level they don't think can pick that play up. Okay. Or you can do it on the other side with the other two guys. Same deal. And can go first, tackle can go around. Doesn't matter how you do it. Those are also helpful. When you can get those things done in there and you're running those little games, those can throw off a blocking scheme. So it would be, if I'm going to assess the defense, how can I get more aggressive? How can I assess this and be more aggressive, but also then have things that are going to put my guys in the best position to make plays, which is the end game. Is this their strength? Or is this a straight slant their strength? Can I slant everybody one direction? And then my linebackers are responsible for everything that they vacated. There's a ton of creative things that they can do. But they don't have the guys right now. They don't have the setup right now to just sit in a base defense and generate pressure. And that happens more than you think. That is not uncommon. Okay. But you've got to be able to use those things in the game. You've got to be able to put that out there and get people uncomfortable. If you guys thinking on the offensive line, in the backfield, quarterbacks don't want to be hit. There's a reason they play quarterback. And there's a reason every coach everywhere has gone away from the option. They don't want their quarterback hit. So the more hits you can pile up on him, the more jumpy they get, the quicker those reads seem to be. Probably not the right read. They're throwing interceptions. You're getting the ball turned over. Like, more good can come of it than bad, in my opinion. Those are all things that hopefully, as we press on for this season, 11 more to go, that we see. Okay. But you're back to the drawing board. You're back to, okay, everything was going good. Then this happened. There were a lot of yards given up. I understand that. There are a lot of new bodies playing on the defensive side. You're going to have that. You want them to progress every week. And you're getting against better teams later in the season. Hopefully that number then just comes down. But there's a physical nature to this that they have to ramp up. They just have to ramp that up. These next two games, you're looking for early domination. Come out and be that guy. Come out and be a bad dude. Come out and I know it's not a popular term, but come out and try to bully these next two teams. Then pick yourself back up, get ready for OU, and go from there. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back here just after a short one, about 2 minutes here on Husker Hangover. Welcome back in, everybody. This is Matt Vrzal, kicking it with you on a Sunday morning here on the new Husker Hangover. Make sure that you follow us on the Facebook. If you haven't on Twitter, it's at Husker Hangover. The Facebook is Husker Hangover with Matt Vrzal. We're evolving the show. Decided to do something different. I get out of routine very easily. So my man Cam over here said he wanted to go along for the ride. So we will do this every Sunday. We will keep you posted on those social media outlets on what's going on with the show. guests for the upcoming week, all of those fun things. You will be able to watch us, as I said, on the Facebook page. We'll also have a YouTube page as we kind of evolve the show, and we will have guests that will come on, so you will get to see their smiling faces as well. That's the freakiest thing to me, though, is I like hiding behind the anonymity of terrestrial radio, having this camera in front of my face. I have no idea where to look. We're just looking at the people across the street.
Putting your mug out there on a Sunday morning.
Right? Nobody needs this. I have a lot of funny shirts. I will try to provide you a themed shirt every week, but this was the best thing I could come up with this week. How about no? How about we just keep the old onside kick in the pocket and do something else? Drew says, O'Shane Mathis saying defensive play calls were coming in late. That on Chins or Henrich relaying the info? Okay. Plays coming in late usually happen when it can be a combination of both. Okay. The signal from the sideline. Oh, no. They got microphones in the helmet. So what that's probably going to be is more on Chenander of getting them in. But there's also some onus on the linebackers in that scenario. You want to make sure that the call, I would say about signal callers, okay? The great ones will be 2 plays ahead, okay? And they need minimal information to relay that. If a play is coming in late, it's probably because there's just a 2 or 3 second, and it doesn't sound like a lot to the general population, but 2 or 3 seconds of a delay in a call is tough for people in the game, because those 2 or 3 seconds, you can kind of get your head right. You can get out there. Now, there's got to be a feel from the player as well. The player has to have it. We've been lucky with some places I've coached to have some great quarterbacks that as soon as the first couple words of the call are made, the quarterback or the linebacker, whomever that may be, knows the rest. They know the rest of it. So, yeah, that's unfortunate that they got into that spot. But I'm guessing Chenander knew that his guys were starting to get a little gassed out. And it isn't because they're not in shape. Like, I think they're in good shape. Okay. It's just that wear and tear over and over and over again, and your depth isn't where you'd like it to be. That's going to take a toll. That's why I talk a lot where offensively, sometimes the best defense is a great offense, where they can not scoring point manner, just bleeding clock and getting the defense a rest. Those quick turnarounds on things. Okay. Don't get me wrong. 1-play scoring drives are awesome. Sometimes at a point in the game, a 12-play drive is even better. A 12-play drive is fantastic, because you have to get that. With calls coming in late, that's another thing, too, that I would have loved to maybe have kept that private. That's probably a talk for behind closed doors. I don't know if the general public needs to have that information out there. But tell the kids to be honest. He's being honest. Calls are getting in late. We're doing the best we can. Things will round in when you figure out the talent you have. Okay? Seems like you should know the talent you have. I'm not trying to play both sides of the fence here. But you got to get... That being said, then, the pressure and the things, and this is a theme that I love. I really do, because I believe it wholeheartedly. The harder you make the practices, the easier things get in the games. Okay? You should feel uncomfortable after a practice. You should feel as though you've gone through a game every day. You can wind down at the back end of the week and heal some bumps and bruises. But more and more, I'm into the camp, and I have no clue if Nebraska does this, of dress rehearsals, meaning put that thing into a full scrimmage mode, throw the headset on, you're signaling defenses, and you're not standing out on the field, you're on the sideline. So that rhythm and that back and forth gets easier. I know I would hate to have somebody during a competition have the ability to talk into my ear. It would freak me out. So there's acclimation to that. I'm sure they practiced it, but I would do that every week. So then it just became second nature. In my meetings, I would make sure that my linebackers knew over and over and over again that as I went through this is what I'm seeing as a defensive coordinator. If they are able to do this, meaning the offense, this is what I'm going to call to counteract that. So you can just plant that seed in their brain. And then that way, when it gets in there, if you have a bad fuzzy connection, whatever, somebody else is hand signaling to you, something. But now you kind of have a feel of it. Hey, we're 3rd and 8. Chin told me on Monday that we're going to do this. And this is what I feel he's going to call this. If I know, if I get the first 3-4 words and it sounds like we're going with that, like that's what we're running. So it's a new dynamic to football. Is that, you see the offensive coordinator, quarterback, they got to be in lockstep, right? They got to be go. Now the D coordinator and that linebacker with the receiver, the headset on, and his helmet, they have to be the one. Like they have to think in lockstep. And you get those 2-3 seconds back, you get your guys settled down, getting those calls out late, and it really, really screws the secondary. Like it screws them hard because they hands down will have the most adjustments to make. The linebackers will bark out calls, but you think of everything that can happen in an offensive set. They come out in 3 receivers to the right or my right and 1 receiver to the left. Then they motion, so now you're 2 and 2. That's going to change the coverage. Now, if they motion the back out, now you have nobody in the back. You have no backs. Now you got 5 receivers. So now we've all got to communicate that. The earlier you can get the call to the secondary, the happier the secondary will be. 100 out of 100. So that's something that can happen. It's unfortunate that it did happen. It's probably more unfortunate that it's out in the public that it's happening. But they've got to get that. Yeah, you got to get that locked up. But onward we go. You get a chance to play North Dakota on Saturday in Lincoln. People ask me a lot of times about the sellout streak. I not being cold-hearted. I'm not being anti-Nebraska. I just, it's okay to let it go. It's okay to have an empty seat. Now, I understand why everybody's adamant about it. It's the last thing we have left. We know every game going to be full. I think we still know every game is going to be full because people will come. But I don't need it to be a talking point. On a cool thing, on a local flair, a gentleman that used to work for us, Casey Kelly, he does play for North Dakota. And so some of our staff is going to go down and get to watch one of their coworkers get to play at Memorial Stadium, which will be a cool thing. It's a game just aggressive from the jump. As maybe the theme of this show is that your luxury is gone. You don't have the luxury to ease into a game. You don't have a luxury to, it's just North Dakota. That's gone. You don't have that. Because if that thing ends up 0-0 or 7-0 after the first quarter, people, buttholes are going to be puckered. Come out, game plan simple. Keep your offense as vanilla as you want. But you have to go out and attack right out of the chute. Like you have to go out and attack this thing. And just, they know the drill. They know they're coming here to get a check. Try to score 70. Try to go 70-0. Those would be my goals. And I think it's realistic. Go out there and be that guy. And when everybody says, you're picking on us, that's fine. They got to cut a big check to come here. Middle Tennessee State knew the drill. Central Florida with Dante Culpepper knew the drill. North Texas knew the drill. These are how you build your programs. You have to come take these games and take the check. It's nothing personal, it's just business. College football is a business. You are making a business decision to come here and play. We are making a business decision to come out and be as dominant as possible. But that offensive line has a great opportunity to play against somebody that you should be able to shove around. In that, though, you cannot get lazy. You cannot have bad technique. You cannot have offsides. You cannot have holding. You cannot have these things because your luxury is gone. This game is the building block to the next game. So whatever mistakes were made in game one, very limited push, need to get better at second level. On securing linebacker, the plays that they did it looked great. But it's got to be every play. Every single play, it has to be that way. But a couple times that instead of it exploding out a little more laterally, we exploded out a little up in the air, got a little high on some blocks. Those things have to go away. Play your version of a smash mouth game. And it feels great. These were games I got to play in. It was awesome. But make sure that your mind is right in that. You don't have the luxury to overlook anybody. You don't have the luxury to look past anybody. If you get up 28 points, don't onside kick. Very simple premises. But just for one game, one afternoon, just go put the throttle down. Devil may care. Just go. Just as hard as you can for as long as you can. If you can't go anymore, get somebody else in. Get somebody else in. Doug Mahoney. I think this is the Doug Mahoney I used to coach with. So if we can't control the O&D line this week, we're in deep trouble. Very true, Douglas. And day games are fun, if that is my Doug. John says, is there any way that we can just get Baby Shark played in Frost headset during the game? It would keep him occupied for hours. It did for my nephew when he was 2, and it would keep him from being able to make any decisions that would affect the game. All right, so we're in. We're going full go. My good buddy Florida State Mike says, I read on a Twitter response from Omar Manning. He has a concussion. Earlier you mentioned maybe he was out of favor with Mickey Truth in the middle. Yeah, I'd probably say that's fair. I'd probably say that's a good one. We'll just say, Mikey, that we have conflicting reports. Sean says, hi, Dougie. Sean says, I got 2 new pizzas for your menu. One is where the customer orders one thing and comes back with something completely different called Scott Frost. The other is a totally loaded pizza called Eat Your Feelings, available only after a loss. The second one's good. The second one is good. Can you imagine? Well, that's the other thing, too. So I've owned bars for quite a while, but vast majority of my life. Shout out DJ Rizak for giving me the opportunity. I didn't think losses in football games would bother the business like they did in Lincoln. It's the same. It's the exact same. It's the exact same. I mean, we were having a day on Saturday, like carry out is flying, everybody's scrambling around. It's great. And we don't get, listen, if you ever want to come somewhere to watch a game just in peace and quiet, we're the place. I think we had maybe half full. We just don't have a lot of people come watch the game. They grab stuff to go, get wings and all that fun stuff. But they lost. And I was like, oh boy. I was like, I don't know what happens from here. I don't know where this goes. It's eerie if you've ever owned a restaurant when the phones go from ring, 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 ring to just dead silent. Like, okay, all right, this is fun.
I used to bartend, and I hated bartending Husker Saturday for 2 reasons. One, because it was either you're gonna just be slammed balls to the wall all day, or they lose and everything just stops.
Yeah. And you're in a twisted, demented industry when you're like, God, please win so it can just be chaos.
Right.
Please
I
win
just
so
need
it
to
can
get
be
through
chaos.
tonight. Come on.
And I'm here. I feel questions. I have folks that come in and want the breakdown. I watched the game. I had to break a little film for Scott, and then I did that till about midnight. Watched the game a couple more times, about 2. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So we had a decent night. We were on pace to have a great one. And then the old L came and slowed her down a little bit. But yeah, I've done this too long to know this. I was hoping we wouldn't be having this discussion today. I said, just win. Nebraska marketing departments that are listening, just call the Raiders and say, we would like to license Just Win Baby. Put it on a red shirt, white print, sell them. People ask me, can we cover this points? Can we cover these points? Can we eliminate Nebraska covering in your mind? Just get in the mindset of Nebraska winning. Like, just win the game. That's all that needs to happen. That's all. I don't care if it's by 2, I don't care if it's by 1. They come up with some new scoring where we win by 1/2. I don't care. I just want to win. That's all I want. And if you can piece that together and make that happen, you're good. Now, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't bet the over. Because I knew Nebraska's defense was going to be green. I thought Nebraska would be able to score points. So that was good in my non-traditional retirement account. Back to, man, we are ready to soul searching. This is week 1. But anyway, come out and pound. Okay. North Dakota. Get it out of your mind that it's not okay. For all the young guys on the team, you should be the ones most adamant or going the hardest this week in practice. Okay. Because if you're a guy that you think is getting jammed and you're not getting to play a whole bunch and you're not this and you're not that, go out and have a great week of practice and press the starter, or play so hard that you eliminate any coaching decision that they should not put you in the game. Okay. Go out and play so hard that they have to play you. Right. That way, when that first round of substitutions comes in and you're the guy, now you're in the spotlight. Now you're on the big stage. Now you get a chance to prove this wasn't a fluke. This is how I go every day. Because building depth, defensive line would be my number 1 priority. Linebacker probably got to be your number 2 priority. Like safety, defensive backs, they have quite a few people. Offensively, if I'm a young tight end, I'm going to be the ball catching us, blocking mother out there. I'm getting so much extra work, they're going to have to kick me off the field because now I know if Vokalek is hurt, this is an opportunity for me to gain playing time. If I'm a young center guard tackle, they're going to have to pull me off of people because now's my chance. Receivers, I got no beef with you. Keep doing what you're doing. If I'm a running back that didn't feel like I got to play enough, you get a chance. You get 5 days this week to show you need to play more. The devil's in the details, and the prize is in the preparation. Go out and prepare better than anybody else. And that way, if the game does do what we all hope, pray, please, baby Jesus, swaddling close in a manger, let this thing get ugly. Let it get real ugly so we can get guys out on the field. And we can evolve and we can move on. Because by these later games in the year, you're going to need more people. If your depth isn't where it should be, you get to a guy like Braum at Purdue, they're just going to run you laterally and make you chase, get you tired. I mean, you can pick whichever way you want to go. If you look at that schedule, Michigan going to pound. Minnesota going to pound. Wisconsin. I don't know about Wisconsin. Iowa going to pound. So we've got to find that physicality. You've got to find the bodies. You've got to find the players. There is no more time to do it any other way. So from a coaching aspect, if I was going to give a coaching talking point, it would be unity. You got to get on a unified front. I don't think there's any dissension. Those lulls in the game where what's called doesn't work. You can't have those. Like, my goal the rest of the way would be the most dominant team on first down. I don't care if it's via the run. I don't care if it's via the pass. If I was going to set a goal, I would have 5+ yards on down one. Because now I have advantage. 5 yards on first down. If I can average 5 yards on first down, watch how many games you can win. And hey, here's one thing. If we're gonna look at this and be happy, special teams didn't dig anything up. They did everything they were supposed to do. They got told onside kick, they onside kicked. No punch block, no bad snaps. Kickoffs were good, unless I missed one. Now, I was in and out, so if I missed a kick that got blown, let me know. But yeah, so props to Bill Bush. But keep honing those. Keep making those where that isn't a one-off. Keep making that where, and who knows, maybe fake punt is next. Maybe double reverse is after that. That was mean. That was mean-spirited. We're at our 20. We're in a fake punt. This will get him. But yeah, so I mean, I guess my bright sides of the game, thought receiver play was good. Special teams didn't do anything to lose you the game. You executed what was called. Let's preface that. You executed the plays that they called for you to execute. Like I said, I pushed that onside kick out past the hash, though, where there was nobody. Oh, man. If I'm Shenander, I'm just going to unleash. Yeah. Well, what do I have to? Blitz it. You'd love to just play base. That is another funny thing, too. We talked about playing vanilla before. It isn't like you have some groundbreaking blitz that nobody's ever seen. Like everybody prepares for those all week. Everybody just blitz. Have fun. Pin your ears back. Now, if you want to flex on somebody, get about 4, 5, 6 dudes that you don't have to blitz, and you can still get pressure. Now you're living the high life. But right now you don't have that. So get creative. They get a situation where you can get them, or they slide it back one way and you know you're one short in protection, send it. Full send, as the kids say. But don't hesitate and don't worry about that. Don't. The luxury is gone. Make sure you're ready to roll. I don't have any score predictions. I'm not a score predictor. But I will be most happy, most pleased if this game is straight carnage. If it is just as ugly as it can be. And then those young guys, when you get the chance to go in, make sure it doesn't drop off. When you get your opportunity to play on the field, make sure you're ready to roll and make sure you're responsible for points 56, 63, and 70. Because that's how you're going to earn trust. That's how you're going to earn playing time. And that's how you're going to play. That's how you're going to be a factor in the rest of this season. But there's a lot that they got to get worked out. Again, I would have Jack Stark come down. We would do some mental exercises. I think some of the times when they play, they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're waiting to see what's going to happen that's going to throw it off the rails. I really, truly believe that. Why would they try to save stuff when their jobs are literally on the line? That comes from Drew. That's my question, Drew. And I think you nailed that spot on. There's nothing the general sentiment of Nebraska fan that I've talked to is that, hey man, this is, the buyout got moved and this and that and the money changed and blah 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 blah. You have a 6-7 game audition. I'm with you, Drew. Put my back against the wall. I'll unload the gun. I'll throw everything but the kitchen sink at you. Because I don't have anything to lose. I don't. So I'd rather go down swinging than go down with cards in my pocket. I mean, I'm with you 100%. I would throw the rest of the way. And then I can make little changes and I can make the blitzes look the same, or I can make the offenses shots we're going to take look the same and just have a little wrinkle off of them. I can get up there and, one that probably works more than most people don't give it credit for. You creep a linebacker up in the line of scrimmage like he's going to come. The line changes their blocking scheme. Then he bails. And he just goes back to where he's supposed to be. Right at the snap. He just bails out and goes and does his job. Linemen are all out of sorts. Quarterback's read is different now. Make it a pick out of it. But I am literally throwing everything at it the rest of the way out because I ain't going down without a fight. I said these games, these North Dakotas and the Georgia Southerns, which, by the way, anybody that said I was worried about Georgia Southern, not as much anymore. They've gone away from that triple option, which I did not want us to have to play. Helton's there now, so it's probably going to be more of a spread zone type thing. Should be used to it. But those two games, I got to find depth. I got to find depth everywhere, not just the positions I've listed. If I can come out of those games with another player at every position that I trust a little more than I did a couple weeks ago, well worth the check you had to write. Well worth the check you had to write to get him to come down. Johnny's on one today. John says, Drew, because that is how arrogant Frost is. He thinks he doesn't need to do everything to win because he's just that good. That's your goal. Okay. I'm not in defense of anyone. That's your goal, though. Like, if I get myself to where I am that good, I can play defense. I can run vanilla plays against the majority of my schedule. That's awesome. We're not there. So in that time, though, I would empty everything out I had. That's going to be it for us today, folks. I appreciate you guys coming on this new venture with us. Spread the word to your friends. Like the Facebook page, like the Twitter page. We'll get the YouTube stuff up. It will be available via podcast. We'll put all those links out. I had to do something different. I had to switch it up. I had to get out of corporate. So we'll be doing this every week. We look forward to hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much for the interaction. On to North Dakota and a win for our beloved Nebraska Corners. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Cam, for setting all this up. I'm Matt Vrzal. Signing out for Husker Hangover.